Good day, my listeners. You're welcome to another episode of Nimasa Podcast. I am your host for this edition. My name is Femi Kumuyi. This evening, I have a guest with me, which I'm sure you're all interested to know who she is. She is Mrs. Eugenia Abu, a Nigerian broadcast journalist, writer, poet, and media consultant, best known as a former news anchor and correspondent for the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. She is considered one of Nigeria's finest broadcasters, and she has anchored the 9 p.m. news on NTA for 17 years. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen and listeners, please welcome with me to this program, Mrs. Eugenia Abu. All right, thank you very much, Ma. I'm sure that our listeners and our viewers wants to hear you talk. Kindly just make a brief introduction of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Well, you've said most of what needs to be said. I'm a broadcaster. I'm a multimedia strategy expert. I'm a columnist. I'm a media entrepreneur, consultant, and I'm a trainer. So I teach at the university now from time to time.
All right, thank you very much. It's so interesting to know that you are into so many, aspects of the media. But very interestingly, we noticed that you have been a regular face on the maritime industry. What brought you to the maritime industry, please?
Well, let's talk about when you are a broadcaster, when you're a lifetime learner, you want to learn new things. And for me, the maritime industry is a new field that I'm working extremely hard and excitedly at conquering. So when I was invited by NIMASA to come and anchor their weekly program, I made it my own. So now I'm a member of the family and I'm very excited about it.
All right, thank you very much. We know you're a woman of very high reputation, and for you to have accepted to come and broadcast in the industry, there must be something you have noticed in the industry. What is your take on the Dr. Jamo-led administration?
I think Dr. Jamo has done phenomenal work. I mean, first he's going around improving the infrastructure of NIMASA. He has put in an e-library. He has worked hard to put out a new office in Abuja, and there is even a new office for NIMASA headquarters in Victoria Island. So much is going on, and there is also a laboratory. I mean, it would be difficult for anyone not to be excited about the activities going on in NIMASA, and seeing that there is a lot of work that management is doing in NIMASA is enough for me to be interested. I'm also interested in knowledge. So when I was invited, I took a panoramic view of the work that the Jamo-led management is doing, and decided that yes, it's a place that I would like to identify with. This is the reason why I came.
All right, thank you very much once again. Welcome to the maritime sector. The maritime sector already is kind of male dominated. You must have observed that just not in Nigeria but globally. What's your take about this?
I think more women should take an interest in what goes on out there. Also, it is interesting to see that when a new ship is introduced to the populace, there are all kinds of activities that goes around it. And women are generally around that activity. I'd like to see more ship owners that are women, more women in the security sector, in maritime safety, and more women in maritime administration. I also believe that NIMASA has done its own fair job of trying to attract a lot more women to the industry. And one of these days, if I get very lucky, I might get a ship named after me.
Oh, that's interesting. That will be MV Eugenia Abu.
Correct.
All right, very good. So, thank you. Still on the issue of females in the industry, what do you think government can do to bring in more participation of the females, folks in the industry, particularly even the younger generations, to understand the workings of the industry?
From a lot of the research I did before joining, I was intrigued to find that over 80% of the sea has not been explored. And I know women are very curious people. There are also very brilliant women out there. There is nothing that says the younger generation cannot take an interest in maritime security, maritime safety, and even how to navigate maritime administration. Women by nature are very multifaceted. They can also multitask. That is why it's easy for you to see a woman, she's looking after a child, looking after the family, and still carrying out her career. The maritime industry is very complex, but it's also very exciting. And so I'd like to say to women out there that this is an area of field, particularly young women, where you can explore and make your own. There are many schools in Nigeria that teach maritime. There are quite a number also that are schools that are doing things that are related to safety and security. If you are able to go into safety and security, you might want to think about maritime as an area that you might want to join. For women, it's a fairly new ground for a lot of women. And I think it will be a place that you can go and break grounds and learn new things and conquer.
All right, thank you very much. It's still Mrs. Eugenia Abu on the NIMASA podcast for today. You talked about over 80% of the maritime sector not yet being explored. Can you expatiate a little bit on that?
Well, the sea is one of the areas that man has not really been able to explore as much. There's still just so much left that we have not understood about the sea. And being a curious being myself, I took time to study that area and found that a little bit over 80% has not been explored. That's a large area of field for study, for research. And I'm looking forward to more women saying, you know what, I want to conquer a segment of that 80%. I want to be an expert in that field, from the academia to seafarers, to those who are ship owners, to those in security and safety. I think it will be a really interesting area for women to go into. And like I said earlier, women are multitaskers, and this is a challenge. I hope they take it up.
All right, thank you very much. I'll still delve a little bit more into this area of the sea, which is yet to be fully explored.
Yes.
Recently, this administration just came about the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. And of course, you know what blue economy is all about. It's about utilizing the ocean resources.
Right.
As a coach, how do you think government can utilize the resources in the sea?
I think really Nigeria is very lucky to have the body of waters that we have across the country. It's not just about fishing. It's also about being able to go down there and see what kind of fish do we have in Nigeria that they don't have in other countries. How can research bring this forward for purposes of our fishermen? How are our waters? How are we exploring when it's going to be stormy? Basically, how are we looking at the navigation of the waters? I've been to several countries where this is quite a big area of field for the economy. And I'd like to congratulate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for being the first president to really set out to start a ministry of marine and blue economy. This is new, but the blue economy has always been there. President Tinubu just decided to leverage on it because other nations like Netherlands and areas where, like Mauritius, have been doing this for a very long time. Now we have a strategy. Now we have a structure to be able to bring the marine economy under one umbrella where it can be, superintended, where there can be more collaborations. And many nations have been collaborating with NIMASA. Many times when I come to present the program, I meet quite a number of industry players and stakeholders who have come to join NIMASA in furthering the cause of securing the Gulf of Guinea, ensuring that all that piracy and kidnapping going on is brought to its barest minimum. So I'd like to say that ministry is very useful to how we warehouse the blue economy. What are the economic advantages? How can we marshal security? How can we collaborate with other nations? How can we improve our best practices? What nations should we be looking at to learn more from? And I think the ministry is very, very important. And the minister has spent his time visiting NIMASA already. So that's very exciting news to know that he has taken a special interest because NIMASA is one of the forefront organizations in this ministry. And I truly congratulate the minister, I congratulate Mr. President, and I congratulate Dr. Bashir Jamo because he would be the one that all eyes will be on and his organization will be in the forefront of the marine economy.
All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Eugenia Abu. You mentioned something very important while you were talking as regards IUU fishing and the kinds of fishes we have in our oceans, and that was research and development, which is a very, very important area that government needs to focus on. how the government focus on research and development?
I'm very pleased that you asked that question, especially also because NIMASA has been very busy providing laboratories for more research. R&D is really where the world is. Data analytics, data deployment, data gathering is very critical. And when you talk about R&D in the blue economy, it's so crucial because this is the best way in which we can leverage on the economy of the sea. The economy of the sea, it's not just about fish, it's also about seafarers, it's also about dock workers, it's also about movement of goods and services across the world. And Nigeria sits at the top of the West African sub-region in terms of movement of goods. And we have been in the forefront for a very long time. Nigerian ports have been very active since independence. So it is very important that we understand that R&D is the only way in which we can do better, in which we can leverage that economy. Because if you do not know what you have, you cannot offer it to other people. And R&D is also about innovation. And when you are innovating, then people are going to pay attention to the marine economy around you. Nigeria just has so much to benefit from this ministry and from R&D. And all other stakeholders related to the marine economy should be up and running in terms of R&D in order for us to be able to deal with the best of the best in the world, because that's who we are. We have some of the most talented Nigerians as ship captains around the world. We have some of the most talented researchers as Nigerians around the world. The blue economy is not left out.
Well, thank you very much. Indeed, you are a real life coach because you just came into this sector very recently and you seem to understand the workings of the industry. You mentioned data gathering, which is very, very important, which is an aspect I think Nigeria needs to develop more. Data gathering and, of course, information sharing. What do you think about this?
I think it's important because really, when you talk about other nations and their security apparatchik, it's important to understand that data gathering is what really gives you the fillip to know that you are standing on solid ground. If you do not know how many pirates have been arrested, if you do not know the percentage of kidnapping, and I can see that it is going down. I recall that I was also very privileged to have been the anchor when the former President Muhammadu Buhari, came to commission the deep blue assets of NIMASA. I was here as the anchor along with Mr. Cyril Stober, and we saw the amount of equipment that the JAMO-led administration had acquired for NIMASA in order to protect our seas. So data gathering is important. Information sharing is critical. And I also know that the Nigerian Navy and other navies of other nations have been collaborating with NIMASA in securing our oceans. And so I'm very proud to see the work that NIMASA is doing along with its collaborators and stakeholders.
All right, thank you very much. You talked about data gathering, information sharing. Now, I want to take information sharing from the aspect of the media. Now we have various aspects of the media, but in the maritime sector, we have the maritime media. Since you've come into this sector, what is your impression about the maritime media?
I think the maritime media is very robust, and I think it's been led very actively by NIMASA. You have the Voyager, which is a print publicity material to share knowledge with people who perhaps are neophytes and don't know much about this industry. So the Voyager is a really big addition to that. The NIMASA podcast is very robust, and I'm delighted that I am part of the conversation today on this podcast. These are the areas where you can really pay attention, especially if you are new to the area, in order to be able to learn and gather information. Information sharing is also important because NIMASA, with its NIMASA This Week, provides the activities of the DG in DG's diary. And that tells the whole world what the DG and his management have been up to. Recently also, the International Maritime Organization headship visited Nigeria and toured all the NIMASA infrastructure here in Lagos. I think that was a big deal for the nation and for NIMASA. Now, if you already have a relationship with IMO, which is expected, and you know that there are other things that are meant to be bilateral and multilateral, you will understand that information sharing is important for us to be able to defeat our enemies on the sea. The pirates themselves are gathering information. Therefore, as government And as an agency that is responsible for maritime administration and safety, NIMASA has to be above all else in terms of information sharing. The media, maritime media, aside from these interventions that NIMASA is already doing, also has some takes within the print media outside of NIMASA media. And I've read quite a lot there. And I think it's a very robust area of field. And any media person who is looking for more excitement should really join maritime media. But we also have to be careful when we're dealing with maritime media, because security is very critical in this area of field. It's not everything that you report. There are certain things that are high security. And in order for us to be able to carry them, we need to have clearance from our security agencies in order not to give out information that our enemies are looking for. So NIMASA is working assiduously to secure our body of waters, and other stakeholders are doing the same. The maritime media should follow suit in ensuring that in reporting, they take the first rule of the thumb: ensure safety, ensure truthfulness in the face of fake media, ensure clearance, so that you understand from the organizations with jurisdiction that you have the correct information.
All right, thank you very much. You've mentioned data gathering, you've mentioned information sharing, but there's one aspect that is very critical to combining these two together, which is collaboration. What's your take about NIMASA's relationship with the sister agencies under the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy?
I think it's an exciting area of field. The shipping organization, the federal government shipping organization, its sister agencies, NIMASA has shown the way in terms of reaching out to other organizations, in terms of listening to other organizations and taking cue from them in moving the maritime industry forward. NIMASA has a very worthy relationship with ship owners. NIMASA has a very worthy relationship with other sister agencies. NIMASA has an exciting relationship with the media, I dare say. And NIMASA has begun that journey of ensuring that the supervising ministry knows exactly what they are doing at all times. So NIMASA has been drawn in by the ministry to ensure that what is going on in the marine industry is well known by the ministry, which is the supervising ministry. And NIMASA has done very well in showing off its assets and its infrastructure and its knowledge trove to the Honorable Minister when he visited. I think NIMASA has done excellent work and is an organization to watch.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's talk about mentorship and succession plan in the industry. Yeah, I understand that you have a media center where you mentor young people, bringing up to understand what is happening in the country across various sectors. What's your take on mentorship in the sector? How do we bring that into the sector?
I think that my quote for many years now has been: mentorship is one of the greatest ways of fast-tracking development in Africa. I would say, without any iota of contradiction, that over the last 7 to 8 years, I would have mentored in person, maybe about 300 persons. I would have mentored offshore, basically people who have watched my career develop, a little more than that. And we have a system at the center where I take on 2-3 young persons who follow me around and just learn what I do and learn from me. I think those who I wouldn't call myself fully accomplished, I'm still learning, but at least a little bit accomplished within the industry, whether it is the maritime industry or it's the media, should carry 2 or 3 persons along over a period of 3 months and groom them to become a better version of themselves. This is what I do every year. This is what I'm excited to do. And so I have many mentees across the world. I have 3 at the moment who are studying abroad. They are masters. I'm very proud of them. I have 3 who have gotten new jobs now, having worked with me for like a year. I have 1 who has just graduated from the university. I have 2 who are in the university. So I'm constantly looking out for them. I'm constantly checking on them. It is critical that we do not, we empty ourselves. Whatever you have learned in life, whatever you have gained in life, you empty it into another group of persons so that they can carry the torch of succession, so that they can carry the torch of motivation, so that they can carry the torch of success, that you do not have yourself as the only one who knows certain things. I think it's important that people who have done well in life should carry on their shoulders a couple of other people, so that those persons can also transmit their knowledge to the next generation.
All right, thank you very much. What would you say to NIMASA management regarding mentorship of staff, particularly the younger ones that are growing? What do you think?
I think it's important that NIMASA should put that at the top of its agenda. We're not always going to be in the places we want to be forever. Life itself comes to an end. So mentoring younger people is critical. In whatever sector, in whatever department, it's important to groom young people who would be seen as those who would take over. Look at your first 11. When I was executive director in Nigerian Television Authority, I looked at those who seemed to be leaning towards leadership, and I groomed them for leadership. Then I looked at those who are the next 11, those who need a little bit of training. We polished them off. Then we looked at those who seemed to be dragging their feet and brought them into the second 11. This is the way that we can work on mentorship and succession. But more than anything else, the younger generation must want to come along. It's not enough that management wants to give them a chance. You have to remember that there are universal values. And when I teach at Bingham University, where I teach international broadcasting, I tell younger students, when I meet year 1 and year 4, I explain to them that it's important for you to know that there are universal values. Those values are the same yesterday, tomorrow, and in the future. And I'll enumerate some of them. If you are kind in 2023, somebody who was kind in 1923 has the same values. If you're hardworking in 1923, in 2023, hardworking is the same. If you're an idiot in 1923, idiocy is measured by foolishness, lack of interest in work, laziness. You will still be the same kind of person in 2023. Technology has come, it has not eroded universal values. While we know that technology is a plus, sometimes if you dwell on it for too long, you might miss out on what's going on in the world. So I'd like to advise younger people to also keep their eye on the ball. To accept to be mentored is a gift. And if you don't accept to be mentored, you might lose your way. There are people who have experience. You know, when I retired from active public service, I went to the United Nations Institute of Aging. Many people don't know it exists. It exists in Malta. And I immediately took a trip to Malta to go to a policy dialogue meeting to see how do we age. And one of the things I learned from there is that women age differently from men. Is that if you stay with an older person, you add 7 years to your life. Scientifically proven. And this is because you learn wisdom, you learn hard work, you learn entrepreneurship, you learn how did they do it and succeed. And if you're not ready to learn from somebody older, you're not ready to go forward. Intergenerational learning is important. We learn from the younger generation. They should also be open to learning from us.
Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Eugenia Abu. It's no, just my head is just thinking of so many things talking with you, you know. And I look at your age, I know you are a grandmother, you still have this strength and energy to do all this. And I even understand you are doing your PhD, even at over 60.
That's
How
correct.
are you doing this?
First of all, I'd like to say perhaps the grace of God. Not perhaps, the grace of God. The grace of God is critical in my life. I hold on to my faith very strongly. And you know, in all faiths, whether it is Christian or Muslim, they teach us to be resilient. They teach us to hold on to something that is higher than you. And so I hold on to God very strongly. I believe I've been blessed to be able to do all these things at 61. I enjoy them very much. I've also been gifted with the elixir of hard work. I've also been gifted with the elixir of energy. It's not given to everybody my age. Some people who are my age are not even able to go out anymore. So I'm thankful. I'm also thankful for all those who think I'm able to deliver and so give me an offer to do things for them. NIMASA is one of them, and I'm thankful. If NIMASA didn't think I could deliver, they would not have invited me. And so I'm trying to show to NIMASA that I'm up to the task by studying all I can in the maritime industry and taking it on board as part of my life now. Number 2, when you know how to multitask from when you were 12, I can be cooking and still being able to write a script. I'm a writer. I still wake up very early in the morning to write my columns. I write for Business Day every week. I used to write for Trust. I stopped after 10 years. I'm a reader. And so when you read a lot of books, you're very knowledgeable. And I believe reading has helped me to conquer. They say a reader is a leader. It's all true where I'm concerned. I've learned a lot of things. I've moved ahead as a result. I also have the support of my family. I'm married to an incredible man. And in a couple of days, on the 17th of December, I would have spent 40 years being married to the same Mr. Abu, who has been my support system, giving me wings to fly. My children have done very well. They have given me no cause for worry. And I think it's a place for which we should all be thankful to God. I'm truly thankful.
Congratulations on your achievements, family-wise, career-wise, spiritual-wise, every area-wise. You have been in the industry for a few months now, the sector, and you understand the sector. What do you, foresee for the next year, 2024, in the industry?
I think in 2024, the maritime industry will explode, especially because Mr. President, bless his heart, has given a ministry to it. That means that Mr. President, in his agenda when he was campaigning, paid attention specifically to the maritime industry, and he has made good his promise by saying the marine economy is important. Nigeria needs to be able to leverage on that. And you know, Mr. President has been going around shopping for investment. The blue economy is an area of field that many people will want to invest. But it's critical also that Nigerians immediately go and take a closer look. Our industrialists, those in the private sector, should take an interest in the blue economy, in the marine economy. The entire world is seeing what we have always known, that the blue economy is a huge area of field for investment, huge area of field for quadrupling Nigeria's economy. And I believe that in 2024, more eyes will be on the marine economy and more energy will be put in that area. And NIMASA should be ready because NIMASA will be called upon severally to come and show the way. And in doing so, there will be more people becoming, I believe, economically viable in the field. And this is the time for Nigeria to jump up and catch the low-hanging fruits.
All right, thank you very much. Before you leave, please, the media is your constituency.
Absolutely.
And they are very important to the growth of the Nigerian economy across all sectors.
I agree.
What is your word for the media?
I think the Nigerian media has done fairly well, but there's so much to be done. I think the Nigerian media should take an interest in R&D. It's not enough to just cover an event. If you dig deep, there's just so much NIMASA is doing. We can report the blue economy and the marine economy better. We can take a look at the Honorable Minister, who himself is very passionate about the marine economy, and perhaps find out in 2024, what are his projections? Where is he looking at? When he visited NIMASA, he talked a lot about what he wanted to do in this new ministry. Everybody needs to support him to put Nigeria on a bigger map. We're already on the map, but we need to be on a bigger map so that when they talk to us, we can come from the position of strength and knowledge and the ability to collaborate better when we understand our dynamics, our data analytics, and the way in which we analyze our data across sectors in the marine economy would help for other nations to want to collaborate with us. I wish the ministry great success, and I would like to say that we keep our eyes on NIMASA and all the great things that it has been doing in the last 1 year to consolidate them in 2024 and bring new things on board.
Thank you very much. Finally, please, what is your word for the common Nigerian outside there, especially now that the year is winding down and then looking forward to next year? What is your word and advice for them?
Well, my word and advice to them is that nobody should lose hope. I'm anchored on hope. I'm anchored on happiness. I'm anchored on efficiency. So if you put hope, efficiency, and happiness together, 2024 should be a year for us to look up to. It may seem a bit hard now, but it will yield And I think it's best for us to look towards our nation with kindness. Nigeria still gives us the best fruits in the world. Our pineapples are humongous. When I travel abroad and I see tiny, tiny pineapples, I miss home very much. Nigeria has a great agricultural yield, and our food is the best. I love Nigeria with all my heart. When I travel, I still think of amala and the wedu. I think of ochoku. I think of ubegwa. The things that make me very happy: Nigerian food, Nigerian community. And I'd like to say to Nigerians that it's good enough for you to want to leave the country, to go and get more knowledge and come back. But I don't think it's good enough for you to abandon the nation that gave you birth. I think Nigerians should take a look at their nation and look at the glass as half full rather than half empty. I'm a believer in Nigeria. I'm not one of those who wants to go anywhere. I just want to be able to see how best I can help and where I can visit next, because we have some of the most touristic sites in the world. Take time to go and visit a portion of Nigeria you have never been before. It will get better. Security will improve by the grace of God. I wish us well in 2024.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Eugenia Abu. To our listeners out there, I have been speaking with Mrs. Eugenia Abu, an ace broadcaster and, of course, a multitasking woman who has, traveled all aspects and across sectors in Nigeria. And she has said to you out there, you have hope, remain efficient, and remain happy, as we believe that the country is going to give us good vibes in the next coming years. Distinguished colleagues and listeners out there, thank you very much for joining us this episode. Please, you can watch again this program on Nimasa Official. Kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I remain your host, Femi Kumuyi.